Welcome to Just Minded My Business. And I am so happy to bring to the platform today Andrea Hoffer, who is the visionary founder of AHA Talent Experts, shaping the company's approach to sustainable business practices. Her extensive background in team development and leadership, along with hands-on experience in recruiting and training, provides a solid foundation of expertise. Andrea's leadership is highlighted by her authorship of the best-selling book, Higher, Higher, and her frequent roles as a keynote speaker and podcast guest. Wow. Welcome, Andrea. Andrea,
Thank you, Ida.
pleasure to have you here.
It's great to be here.
So let me to ask, how did the name AHA Talent Experts come about?
Actually, the legal name, the original business legal name is Andrea Hoffer Associates. And then when I met with a friend of mine who is my designer, we were trying to kind of play with different logos, and we were thinking we wanted some quote bubbles because we were kind of talking about people and people communicating. And he's like, Andrea Hoffer Associates. Aha. And so it was all his idea.
I love how ideas come about.
Yeah.
Wow. So you have over 40 years in the industry. So tell us what your company does. How do you make a difference?
We approach talent acquisition and retention a little differently than what you would call the traditional recruitment firm. I hesitate to even call us a recruitment firm. We're more of a consultancy that helps companies to streamline their hiring processes. So we evaluate their employer branding because we want to get to know their culture, who's successful there, who's successful in each role, because those characteristics could change. And we put that into a marketing campaign. So we're proactive in building a talent pipeline and then also sourcing passive candidates. And then we streamline the process for them. So it's easier, the candidates are moving through quicker, but you're still having enough time and quality time with the candidates to discover whether or not they're the right fit. And we do, we like to say we're teaching at every phase. My whole goal is not to just fill an open job, but to whoever works with us to help them to learn the best way to recruit and recognize the best people for their team and keep that alive going ahead.
Yes, and that's definitely I'm going to say an acquired taste because most companies do not have it right on their own. They send, I've been out in that recruiting world before. It's like this laundry list where you need to know this, you need to know that, and then other duties is assigned, which doesn't really make me want to work for the company.
Right.
So how do you change that approach?
Well, the first thing is being very authentic and realistic. So not every job is for every person. And yes, you want to put the job out there, put the opportunity out there in a way that attracts people, but you want to attract people who are the right fit. So some people are going to be attractive to a fast-paced, almost chaotic environment. And some people are going to be repelled by that. And some people are going to be attracted to a more routine type, position and everything lined out, their SOPs perfect. And what's going to happen, very predictable. And then other people are not going to wanted an environment or a job like that. And those are just kind of simple things up off the top of my head, but you really want to discover first. That's what I'm always telling our clients, and whenever I speak, is start with that discovery. That start with that define piece. It's the D in my dream hire framework. Dig in and really get to know who you are as an employer. Ask your current employees, think about who's successful on your team, and get a feel for that before you even go out and try to recruit for any of your roles. And you'll be tweaking that as you go along. But if you start there and then be very authentic about who you are when you go out to attract, then you'll be attracting more of the right people. And more importantly, you'll recognize the right people and the wrong people as you go through the process. And they
Yes.
usually recognize it as well. If you're doing it right, they'll tell you they're not the right fit. And I usually go, yay, that's what we want.
Absolutely, and it absolutely makes sense. I mean, when you think of um, a significant other,
Mhm.
you have to define what it is you want and
Yes.
who you are.
Mhm.
And a job is almost in that same category because you want people that's going to stay, number one, that's going to be there. You don't want revolving doors in your company.
Right.
So,
Yeah. And the thing about that is you may attract and hire the right person for a particular role in this moment in time, right? But 6 months, a year down the road, either the company may have changed some, or the person, what they're looking for may have changed. So you really need to continue to check in to make sure they're still in the right seat and they still have the resources they need to be successful. And so I think we forget sometimes, oh, we didn't, they weren't the right person. And because they didn't last past 6 months or a year. Um, but did we really, it's like you said with dating, with the significant other, did we check in? Everything changes on both sides and in our environment as a whole. So we need to constantly be refining that and understanding that we're all people.
yes, absolutely. I love that you said that. People first.
Mhm.
So let me ask you, when you say check-in, what should the employer be doing to do that check-in kind of thing? Because the what is it? The 6 month how you doing? That's to me not checking in. You know, it's like a
I,
form you fill out. They done already filled it out. They done already decided this is how we think what we think of you, but that's not the same.
no, so you're talking about the performance review.
Yes, performance.
Which for many years, and probably even some companies still do it, it's like an annual, very form wise, as you as you put it, thing. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about even daily. Or I always have, I recommend at least weekly or bi-weekly uh touch bases, one-on-ones with
Mhm.
your team members. And you are going through, discussing different things that are on their plate and expectations. But I always like to also say at the beginning and the end, do you have everything you need to be successful? Are there any outstanding questions that, we didn't address? How can I help you? And don't wait for another week till our one-on-one if something comes up. You want to make sure you have easy channels for them to reach you. I like Slack, or we use Ring Central for a while, where it's just like Slack, where you can, message anybody in the company and it's right there. And that way you can get your questions answered. I think when people feel like they're kind of on an island and they just have certain things that their boss expects of them, but that's it. There's no other communication. Other than that, that's when they start to truly disengage. And if they have a problem, it's scary. It is. If
Yeah.
you if your boss doesn't set it up of, hey, I want to hear this, then they don't know it's okay to come and say, I'm having challenges with this area of my job. Is, what do you recommend? Are there other resources to help me?
I like that because that shows that you value them. It shows so many positive things. You care about what they think. You want them to be a part of the solution.
Hmm.
It's so much that that brings to the table. So I definitely like that. And let me ask, when you go into a company, because a lot of companies don't carry it like that, how do you get them into that becoming part of their culture in the company?
Sometimes it's a challenge. I've had some clients say to me, I just don't know how to do it. I don't know how to engage my team, give me a step-by-step process. And sometimes they've read a lot of different really good books,
Mhm,
but they get overwhelmed by it. And so I usually just say, let's start easy. Let's come up with 2 or 3 questions that you ask on a weekly basis,
mhm,
and go from there. Because yes, there is some amazing different programs you can implement and make it more formalized. And I'm all for doing that to make sure you're hitting certain things that you need to make sure you're checking in on. But sometimes you can't start there. So you want to just start with something to show you care. And then it's not only the check-ins with individually, it's also having some time that is not all about work, where you're getting to know the others. And people often say to me, well, we're a virtual team, it's very hard. That's why it's been harder since we're no longer in the office. Well, I had a virtual team of 12 full-time people for many years. And once a month, we had what we called it a monthly happy hour, but there was no alcohol involved. But the reason we called it happy hour, at least I don't think there was alcohol, I wasn't physically there, but no, I could say pretty confidently there wasn't. But we often would have some theme related to it. And my assistant at the time was so good and creative at coming up with them, where it was some sort of game that we'd play for 20 minutes of the happy hour to kind of get the conversation going. And
mhm.
the one rule was we couldn't talk about work. So if somebody by accident mentioned a client and then started to dig it up, got to stop. That's not the reason for this. The reason for this time together is, because during the week we're busy, right? We're busy with all of our client work and building the business, but we want to have time to get to know each other. And it worked great. One time we even had magician. Sorry,
That's okay.
that was their favorite. It was the holiday time, so I
Mhm.
wanted to do something special for them, and so I hired a magician to come and do a show just for us virtually.
Wow, that sounds nice.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We did also there's escape rooms. You can do them
Oh,
virtually.
yeah. Oh,
So
really?
we did that. We divided up into teams, and it was a lot of fun. So I think there are ways, and that's an hour a month. Um, and I think it just built so much into the culture that was extremely valuable. It kept team members longer, but even more importantly, they cared a lot about the company and each other when
Yeah.
most of them had never met in person.
Wow. Wow. And that's important, that caring.
Mhm.
That's really important, because you work with these people. You spend a lot of time with your coworkers. You spend a lot of time at work,
Mhm.
almost as much time as you spend with your family.
Sometimes more.
You're absolutely right. So having that harmonious culture is critical to wanting to come to work. You don't want your employees to wait, oh, I gotta go to work. You want them to feel like, oh, wow, I gotta go to work today and be happy about it
Yeah.
because it's something we all have to do. So make it pleasurable. So I like your approach.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So if employers want to connect with you, how do they do so?
Probably the two best ways. One is I'm on LinkedIn quite a bit. And I actually have a weekly newsletter and lots of posts. So there's lots of little tidbits there if you like some of the things I said today. But you can DM me on LinkedIn or go to our website at AHA talent experts with an S.com. And you can learn a little more about what we do at AHA. And you can also book a time to meet with me or send me an email.
Okay. So now let me ask you, do you work with employees as well as the employer?
Our clients are typically the employer.
Okay.
Yeah, I do have a lot of job seekers contact me individually and the company pretty much every day. And sometimes I'll try to give them some practical tips, but really our clients are the employers. And then when we're, doing a search, of course, we're interacting with the job seekers for those roles.
Mhm. Gotcha. Okay. So let me ask you about how you use AI in the recruitment process, because everybody's using AI, so for one thing or another. So how do you use it?
Actually, we've now shifted pretty much all of our marketing to AI powered recruitment because AI is a big part of how we do things. However, that human element is still very strong. So I like to, and I just did a talk on this a few days ago at a conference. And I like to talk about AI as more of a strategic partner
Mhm.
than just a tool. It is a tool, but we often don't know how to use the tool. So we use my dream hire framework in with all of our clients. It takes you through the 5 stages through the DREAM. And using AI in each stage helps us to define the needs. Yeah, to give you an example, the define stage, which I briefly talked about earlier, I even like having maybe it's Chat GPT or one of the AI models interview you. And we have certain prompts for this and it's in my latest LinkedIn newsletter that came out this morning. um, tell it to interview you and ask you about your culture, about who's successful there. The questions are a little more down to earth than the way I just put it, but it's a way to pull it out of you.
Mhm.
And then the AI can help you take what I call taking that unstructured data and putting it into a more structured way. And then you can review it and see if it resonates with you. And if it does, that's the beginning of that process of then taking that information and using it to design recruitment marketing pieces so
Mhm.
that you're building up that talent pipeline. And there's so many other ways that we use AI as strategic partner. And then we do use a lot of different AI tools and especially automation, but
Mhm.
it really depends upon the needs of the client. AI is very powerful when we're sourcing for candidates, especially if it's a very niche role. And if we need a lot of them, because we specialize in higher volume, recurring hiring. And so AI works great for that as well as automation. But before I start to talk about that or even recommend any specific tool or technology stack to a client, I really like to start with just using it using AI in a very basic sense to as that strategic partner to define what they truly need. Because otherwise you're just jumping into a bunch of fun tools, but if you're not using them correctly, you're just going to get a lot of nonsense.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah. So let me ask you about something because I get a lot of emails from job boards and things like that.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I've noticed, like if I see a particular job that I like and I click on it, it doesn't take me there. It takes me to something that I don't even want. So do you work with job boards as well to help them?
Well, we will use different job boards to post our clients' opportunities, but more and more we have decided not to rely too much on it. I kind of say we do it because it's almost expected. Sometimes we'll be spending hours and lots of very focused time on sourcing candidates beyond the job boards. And our client will say, well, our job ad isn't number one when you do a search on Indeed. That's the big one they often will say.
Right.
And I'm like, do you really want to get 500 applications of the wrong candidates? Or would you like us to go and find the ones that have the skills you're looking for and the traits? So it's sort of a balance. I'm not saying we don't ever get good candidates through job boards, but I feel like we need to hit everything. I don't know why you're getting emails that then lead you to a different
I don't know either. It's crazy because I mean, when I was out there really looking, I was on every job board and I get notices every day. And then I see something, I just want to see what it's all about. And I click on it and it just sends me to anything. It don't even send me to that job. It's like it wants you to scroll through all the jobs
oh yeah.
before you get to the one you're interested in.
Okay, so it still brings you to a list of jobs. So it's probably some sort of algorithm that these other jobs, maybe they just wanted to get your eyeballs on it. And I don't really know all of the
I mean, I don't know what they're doing because what happens is I have a profile that with certain things that I'm looking for. I'm definitely not looking to work at Walmart.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And it'll bring stuff up like that. Nothing related to what I actually am looking for, so to speak. My profile is set up. So of
Yeah,
course
it
I
could
got
be
rid of them because I don't want to work at Walmart.
right. And that's why when you post a job, you often will see people who you're like, why are they even interested in my job? It's completely different than what the resume history shows. And often they don't know that they've applied for that role. It's just this automated thing. Maybe they're kind of doing it with keywords. It might
Mm.
get better with AI because AI can fine tune it a lot better than, because this has been going on for a decade or more, where they match things through keywords and
Right.
it's never even close to accurate. So it's all, you know, it's a machine.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I get frustrated with that. I'm like, Jesus, I don't want to go through the whole board. It's like they send you this catch material, and then once you get there, they throw the whole thing at you. Wow, this is so interesting. You're a fun person, and I can see how your clients would be able to definitely get on board with your talents because you need to make it fun, and you definitely do that. And I like the idea of you creating cultures within companies
Yeah,
because the employees that work there are your advertisement for real.
very true.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually, when I owned a spa years ago, I'll just throw this story out there. And one of the things, we had this bonus if they brought in people who we hired, because we were always hiring massage therapists, especially. And, they got, I can't remember what the exact bonus was, but they got a certain bonus. And so we noticed that when they would go out on break in their uniforms, they go to the local Dunkin' Donuts or the local restaurant, they often would come back with referrals like, oh, I referred so and so because they were interested in a job. So one of the benefits I wanted to offer the team was more health related than Dunkin' Donuts, since we were a wellness brand. And a new gym had opened in our complex. So I bought memberships for whoever was interested, with the one caveat that most of the time when they went for the workouts, they would I bought them a t-shirt that had our brand on it. So it was two goals, obviously. One was employee referral, but also, to let people know we were in the complex. So
Mhm.
for sales as well. And it worked really well. Um, so like you said, your team members, they're like your best billboard for both getting other employees and bringing new customers in.
Yes, absolutely. So, in your business, how do you actually recruit new talent? What is your methods
Oh, well, are you talking about when we recruit people for AHA or recruit for our clients?
for your clients?
Really, the answer is the same, but we run them through our dream process. So we go through the define with them to get very clear on their needs.
Mhm.
And then we have under reach for R is when we do the whole recruitment marketing campaign. We're a big believer on always be recruiting. So not just doing posts that are job posts, but doing some pictures and videos and stories and celebrations, to show about your everyday culture. And then engage is the piece where the technology really comes into play because it makes it easier to stay in contact with candidates and potential candidates. So if you have the right technology in place, and even add now chatbots, you're more of a 24/7 operation where candidates can come on and interact with you and ask questions whenever they want. And then you have A, which is the assess piece, and that's where we customize interview questions for our clients that it's according to a certain formula that we've used for many years
Mhm.
and perfected over the years to help our clients and us when we're doing the interviewing. Sometimes our clients just want us to find the people. And it helps, we teach, we actually train them on how to use these questions and what to listen for to help recognize the people that they defined in the D stage. And then M is motivate. And that's, how are we going to do onboarding successfully? How are we going to inspire our new team members? How are we inspiring and engaging our current team members? So it's a circle, the model, because you're really just doing it and tweaking over and over again. Um, but that's really our process. It looks a little different for each client because each one has different needs, but we keep pretty close to that model.
Yes, yes. And I'm glad you touched on onboarding because that's a critical thing. I have actually got hired for companies, walked in, no computer, no desk. And in my mind, I'm thinking, oh my God, did I come to the wrong place? So onboarding, I mean, once you get that talent, that onboarding is really critical because that could make or break the deal.
Right. And you're still selling the job to them. It doesn't matter. They accepted your offer, they signed the offer. You still need to make them feel like they made the right decision.
Yeah.
I used to work at Brookstone long time ago. I don't know if you remember that store. And one of the things they taught us when we were in, the initial training was, even after somebody buys something, so if we're on the cashier and we're bringing it up,
Mhm.
and I'm sure a lot of people have heard this before, but compliment what they bought or tell them something great about what they bought and how it's going to make their life better, because you want to validate that decision. You want to make them feel good about it.
Mhm.
It's they're going. It's the same thing with with onboarding. It starts the second they accept that offer.
Yes.
And what does that paperwork look like? Is it fun? Does it represent your culture? Does it give them everything they need? I've worked with clients who the candidates call me the night before almost in hysterics because they're supposed to start the next morning, and the client had told them there was certain things they wanted them to read prior that they never received,
Mhm.
and they don't even know where to park or where to go or what time they're supposed to be there. I was like, this is just basic. I always say with onboarding, think of Maslow's pyramid and
Yes.
start with the basics. Do they know where to go to the bathroom if it's on site, or where to get lunch, or are they allowed, to go out at lunch, or do you provide it? Every
Yes.
culture is different. Every company is different. And it's scary. It's like starting a new day at school. And if you don't have all that
Yes.
information, you don't know what to do.
Oh yeah, you walking in nervous already. You
Right.
know, you're the new kid on the block.
Hmm.
Soon as you walk in the door, everybody looking at you, and you don't know what to do. You don't have a clue.
Right.
Nobody greets you at the door. Nothing.
Yeah. I had a job once where I did not have my own chair to sit in for the first 6 weeks.
What?
They said they didn't have it in the budget.
What?
Yes. So I had to share a chair with the person next to me. It was an open office type format. So it was just a table all around the room. We didn't each have our own desk. In my spot, which was this little, like 2 feet spot, there was no chair. So I had to wait until somebody had a meeting or something so I could borrow their chair.
Oh my God, that's a good one.
It was probably, I lasted just over 2 months at that job.
I bet.
My old employer called me and said, you probably don't want to come back. I'm like, when do you want me? Do you have a chair for me? Because I'll definitely.
Oh my goodness, that's a good one. That's a good one. You're gonna have me laughing all day on this one.
I don't think I've told that story in a long time.
Wow. So definitely make sure as an employer, you have a chair for your employee because
I mean,
that's not gonna go over well.
yeah. Yeah, I don't think that is the norm, right? Like even, back then it wasn't, but it it was odd.
I'm sure there's plenty of horror stories out
Yeah.
there about the first day at work, so that's I'm sure it's some. Definitely. Oh my God. Andrea, this has been pleasant to say the least. Again, how do employers connect with you? Because they definitely going to need you because you've definitely been around the block a few times.
Thank you. I'm not sure if that was a compliment, but I'm going to take it as one. No, I think it
Yeah,
was nice.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you worked for a place that didn't have a chair.
And,
Come on now.
um,
Yeah.
well, I mentioned LinkedIn, but I'm also going to give my email if that's okay. Some people
Perfect.
prefer that. Andrea, Andrea, at ahatalentexperts.com. So AHA talent experts with an S.com.
Yes, yes. So this lady, you definitely want to get with her. She has 40 years of experience doing what she does, and she definitely gonna make that experience for your new hire pleasant, because not only does she know what to do, she's actually been through it. Exactly. So thank you so much, Andrea. This was awesome, awesome, and awesome.
Thank
I'm
you.
going to be smiling the rest of the day and
Oh, good. Well,
thinking
that's
about your no chair. You're sharing a chair job. That's maybe we need to do another show where we put all the different experiences that employees have walked into on their first day. Show employees, don't do this.
I think I might do a LinkedIn post on that.
Yes, that would be fun. That would be definitely fun. I'm going to go ahead and connect with you and look for it so I can share it.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much, my dear. This has been awesome. And
Thank
audience, thank you as well. We appreciate you. And we are definitely going to have to do this again.
Yes. Thank you, Ida.